Today I'm going to be measuring, marking, cutting and fitting some plasterboard. I'm using 9mm plasterboard because I'm just covering up this ugly bit of wall here. So I'll get started. So the first job is to measure up my space and see how much I've got to cut off my sheets of plasterboard. My sheets are 2.4 metres long, and I need to see if I need to cut any off the ends, because when I fit them they need to be screwed into bits of wood, so I need to see where they come to. So let's see first of all where 2.4 comes to. It comes to here, which is just over the end, so I need to cut them here. So when I say 2310 millimetres, so let's go here, 2, 3, 1, make sure that's straight, 2, 3, 1. Now I'm going to make 3 marks along here to make sure I get a nice straight line. 2, 3, 1, straight, and one more down here. Hook on the end, hook on the end. 2, 3, 1. So I've laid the sheet on the floor, just makes life a bit easier, a bit more accurate, and I've got my straight edge. I'm using a long spirit level. So I'm just going to line up my pencil marks, and a nice sharp pencil. And draw my line. Sometimes you can just cut it straight with a knife, but I'm just going to do it with a pencil first. And then you need a nice sharp knife, and just running down that line, you need to press quite hard. And just score the plasterboard down the pencil line. Don't worry about cutting through it, and I like to do it a couple of times just to make that score nice and deep. You get a bit of dust coming out, but don't worry about that. Make sure it's lined up nicely. Score it like that. Then the way I do it is gently lift that plasterboard and slide a straight edge underneath. Go over that score one more time, and it should just snap nicely like that. Lift that edge with your knife. That should give you a nice cleanish edge. Not perfect, but it'll do for me. Right, now we've got our length sorted out, we now need to work out the height. I'm hoping these are going to be the same height all the way along. It's nice and square, but you never know. So we'll take a few measurements. Now I'm not going to go right to the floor because, as you can see, we've got bare concrete here. The tiles are coming up, and I want to leave a bit of a gap just for airflow, and I've got new flooring coming in here later on anyway. So I'm going to go from the bottom of this windowsill to where am I going to go to? Somewhere about here, I think, just above it. There'll be skirting boards, flooring, so there's not going to be a gap there afterwards. So I'm going to go from under the windowsill down to there. Now that's 850 millimeters. Let's just see what it is the other end. I'm on this joist here, aren't I? Go from under there. That's 850 there. I'm going to measure 850 from the top to the bottom several times along to make sure I'm not long, my spots aren't longer than my straight edge. So what was that, 850? Let's find it on here. Should be wearing my glasses. 850. So we got 850, and again 50, 50. Finally 850. Right. We're going to do the same again and score my break line. On that pencil line nice and carefully. Hold that nice and tight, always cut away from you. Just work your way down the board. Make sure you put quite a lot of pressure on your straight edge. You don't want it shifting at all. Makes a real pain of it. I'm going to go wild and go freehand. Let's let that initial score line. Oh, hello. You're in my way. Monty never helps. He's always a hindrance, but I love him anyway. So there's our score line. Now obviously this is a long run to go under here, but it is heavy. The weight of it just breaks itself, which is great. So now it's broken. I'm going to go back. Score nice and deep. Monty, come off there. You're going to break it. Always wants the limelight. Okay, so now I've got to see if I've got that right and if it actually fits where I want it to go. So, carefully lift it. Press the bottom in. Ooh. What we want to know is, I'm just going to push those wires in, power's off so I'm safe. Have I got my length right first of all? It looks pretty good. I'm going to shift it a touch so it's lined up on that corner. Feels good. I've got enough space to get my screws in there. Yep, I'm happy with that. So now what we need to do is to lift it up so that it tucks in just nicely underneath this windowsill. And for that we're going to need some bits of wood that you can slide in underneath just to give it a bit of lift, ready for you to put your screws in. What'd you say? Monty's just reminded me that I haven't cut the hole for the wires and socket to come through. How would you do it? He looks quite zen about the whole thing, and he's clearly not going to help me, but he did remind me, which is nice. I'll get on with that now. Okay, so I'm going to cut the hole for the socket now. I've drawn my box on here, my rectangle on here, after measuring where it needs to be on the board. And I'm just going to cut it out. I've popped the spirit level under there just to raise this up off the floor, because I'm going to use this drill just to gently cut a hole in each corner, so I can then come with a saw and just cut that out neatly. So I've cut my hole for the wires to come through. It's not perfect, but this is all going to be plastered, so there's room to adjust when that comes back. I've put the board up against the wall, made sure I put down my lifters first, so that gives me a hand that I can even get my fingers under there now. And actually, it looks like this end is slightly lower to that than that end, but that's the way that the floor drops. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and put some screws in. What I have done before I put the board up is mark where the battens were, so I know where I'm going to be putting my screws into. Now you can put them on the top or on the bottom or both, whatever you like. I've chosen to just put mine on the floor here, my marks, because this is a plastic windowsill and it's really hard to get pen and pencil off it. Couldn't bother to scrub it. So I've just marked on the floor with a couple of pencil lines where the battens run behind the plasterboard, so that when I come to put the screws in, I'll know exactly where I'm going, and I'll go into the wood rather than into the polystyrene insulating. So I'm going to get my drill ready, screwdriver ready, and my screws, and then be ready to go. So I'm going to put the first screw in. Obviously it's going to be the only one holding, so it's not that supportive. I've marked on the floor where my batten is, so I know it's here. So that's the first one in. I'm going to go so the screw doesn't poke out and doesn't get in the way of when the plaster goes on. I'm going to go up the other end and get one up the other end so that we're nice and square at the top. Let's lift it a little. First one. Let's get it into the plasterboard. Need to lift it a little bit so there's not too big a gap underneath the windowsill. And that's dropped slightly, which makes me think that it's split this batten, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. So let's get another one in. Yeah, that second screw has gone in. I haven't put it all the way in yet. I think that top screw is just too close to the edge. It is quite close to the edge of the plasterboard, which I don't really like, but I'm going to put the screws along there as well to keep it all nice and safe. So let's get on. Measure, cut, fit a piece of 9mm plasterboard, ready for plastering. Done! Hope you found it useful. If you did, like and subscribe. Cheers, bye.